The first card, day, October 12, 1969 time, 9:30 p.m. Country, USA State, California. The phone rang, piercing the quiet hum of Detective John's office. He had just finished his paperwork for the day, his mind already imagining the calm evening ahead when the call came. It was an urgent summons, another cryptic letter. He stood up quickly, reaching for the letter in front of him. "This is it," he muttered to himself as he read the contents. "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of your department, and I know you will never catch me. You won't find me, at least not alive." The letter was accompanied by a gruesome image of a body, mutilated and marked with symbols. The Zodiac killer, who had been terrorizing the Bay Area, was sending another message. Detective John immediately called his team in. "This could be our breakthrough," he said, staring at the eerie, unsettling message. What struck him the most was the inclusion of a cipher, a complex code wrapped within the letter. It had to mean something. This could be the key to understanding the mind of the killer, if only they could decode it. As John looked out over the empty streets, he had a sense that this was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The letter mentioned a cipher that promised to reveal something deadly about the Zodiac's next move. But would they decode it before another body dropped? The following day, Detective John stood in front of a board covered with tangled notes, newspaper clippings, and the now famous Zodiac cipher. The pressure was mounting as every moment seemed to bring them closer to another killing. His team scrambled to decode the cipher, hoping for some breakthrough. "Think of it as a riddle," John said, trying to calm the growing anxiety in the room. "We've cracked his messages before. This one won't be different." One of the younger detectives, Bill, focused on the letters. They weren't just random letters and symbols. There was something deeper at play. "I think I have something," Bill muttered. John leaned forward. "What is it?" Bill pointed to the letters and symbols, highlighting the sequence. "I think it's not just letters, it's a map. The cipher is directing us somewhere. A location. Could this be where the Zodiac had hidden his next victim?" They had no time to waste. They prepared for a search that felt urgent. Each second felt like a countdown. Was the Zodiac leaving them a path to follow, or was it another trap? Bill cracked part of the cipher, leading them to a place in the city. Was this the Zodiac's next strike, or was it just another cruel game? Detective John and his team rushed to the location that had been revealed in the cipher, a remote area near Lake Berryessa. The sun was starting to set, and the eerie quiet was only broken by the sound of their footsteps crunching against the dry ground. The location felt wrong, too still, too deserted. As they got closer, John could feel his heart rate quicken. The Zodiac was always one step ahead. This had to be where he would strike next. A soft cry pierced the air. It was distant but clear enough to freeze them in place. "Move!" John shouted, signaling his team to follow him. They sprinted toward the source of the sound, and as they crested a small hill, they saw it. The bodies of a young couple, clearly victims of a vicious attack. The Zodiac had already marked them. The signature symbol from his letter, crossed out circles, was etched into the woman's chest. Detective John could barely stomach the sight. This wasn't just murder, it was a twisted message. But as they searched the area, they found something else. A small, folded piece of paper. Another letter. Why did he leave this behind? John wondered aloud. Is this a clue? Or just another twisted game? The letter contained a new puzzle, one that seemed even more complex than the first. Detective John's mind raced as he walked among the bodies, a sinking feeling in his chest. How had they missed the Zodiac this time? The killer was playing with them, and they were losing the game. He couldn't shake the image of the woman's body, the mark on her chest. It was the Zodiac's unmistakable symbol. He was leaving his mark, taunting them. As the crime scene was processed, another chilling discovery was made. The cryptic letter from the Zodiac spoke of more victims, more lives that would be taken. The killer wasn't just hiding in the shadows, he was daring them to catch him. "We need to get ahead of this," John said to his team. "We can't let him keep us in the dark." Just then, one of the officers came running toward them, holding up another letter. He sent another one. This time, the letter was even more disturbing than the last. It was a twisted riddle, promising a new horror, an event that no one could stop. The Zodiac's letter hinted at something even worse to come. Was it already too late to stop him? Detective John stood at his desk, looking over the letter again. The words jumped out at him like daggers. "You'll never catch me. I know where you are headed next. I'll be there too." The Zodiac wasn't just playing games anymore. He was setting a trap. The cryptic messages kept coming, each one more sinister than the last. Every time they thought they were making progress, they were blindsided. They were walking into the killer's plan, unable to stop it. "We have to be smarter than him," John muttered, determined. "Let's analyze the patterns. Look for anything he's left behind." And they did. For hours, they pieced together bits of evidence, hoping it would lead them to a breakthrough. But there was something that didn't sit right with them. Was the Zodiac really toying with them, or was he leading them into a larger trap? Detective John receives a call that sends chills down his spine. The Zodiac is closer than they think. The phone rang again, shattering the tense silence in the office. The voice on the other end was cold, almost mocking. "I'm the Zodiac," it said, sending a shiver down Detective John's spine. "I know what you're planning next. I'll give you a clue, but don't bother trying to catch me. You'll fail." The words sent a chill through everyone in the room. The Zodiac wasn't hiding. He was taunting them, challenging them. This was no longer just a game of cat and mouse. This was a calculated mind game, a battle of wits. "I'll be at your next move," the Zodiac continued. "And I'll be waiting." The call abruptly ended, leaving the detective standing in the cold silence. What had the killer meant by waiting? Was he already inside their ranks? The Zodiac mentions an untouched victim. The phone rang, and Detective John's heart skipped a beat. His office had been eerily quiet since the discovery of the bodies 2 days ago. Everyone had been on edge. He glanced at the clock. It was 10 p.m., just the right time for the killer to call. He grabbed the receiver, his hand trembling slightly as he put it to his ear. The voice on the other end was chillingly calm. "I'm the Zodiac," the voice said, the words cold and calculated, as though he was reading from a script. "I know what you're planning next. But let me make it easy for you. I'll give you a clue, but it won't do you any good. You'll fail." John's grip on the phone tightened. His thoughts raced. Had the Zodiac really been tracking them this closely? Was he watching them right now? "Who is this?" John demanded, trying to keep his voice steady, but it was difficult. His pulse quickened, and a cold sweat started to form on the back of his neck. "I'll be at your next move," the voice continued, "and I'll be waiting." The call ended abruptly, leaving the detective in stunned silence. The finality of it was unnerving. There was no doubt in his mind. The Zodiac wasn't hiding anymore. He was playing a game of psychological warfare, toying with them like a puppet master. The fear was palpable in the room. If they didn't act quickly, the killer would get to his next victim before they even knew where to look. Detective John is left with more questions than answers. The Zodiac had given them no direction, no clear clues. Was he truly playing with them, or was there something more sinister going on? It was past midnight when the call came in again. This time, the voice on the other end wasn't cold and detached. It was hurried, frantic. A woman. "Please help me. He's going to kill me." The voice trembled with fear, and Detective John's heart sank. The Zodiac had always been methodical in his murders, but now, it sounded like he was losing control. Could this be another victim? Or was it some twisted mind game? "Where are you?" John asked urgently, his mind racing. Every second counted. I don't know. He's in the house with me." The woman's voice cracked, the fear suffocating her words. "I can hear him. I can hear his footsteps. He's coming closer." The line cut abruptly, leaving only a hollow silence. Detective John felt a knot tighten in his chest. Could this be the end for her? Had they failed again? The team scrambled to trace the call, but it was too late. By the time they arrived at the location, all they found was an abandoned house and a bloody trail leading to the woods. The Zodiac had already claimed another victim. His footprint, literally and figuratively, was everywhere. This wasn't just another murder. It was an eerie signature, a message. And it was getting worse. What had happened to the woman? Did the Zodiac leave any clue behind, or was this just another empty attempt to mislead the investigators? The next morning, the team gathered around the conference table, each member feeling the weight of the case growing heavier with every passing day. Detective John sat in silence, staring at a new letter that had just arrived. It was neatly folded, the handwriting almost too perfect, but it was what was inside that had their blood running cold. "I like killing people," the letter began. "It's what I do best." The words were sickening, but it was the following sentence that sent chills down John's spine. "You are all so close, but you still can't catch me. You'll never see me coming." The tone was different this time, almost playful, as if the Zodiac was enjoying every second of watching them fail. He wasn't just taunting them anymore, he was mocking them. And what struck John as even more chilling was the inclusion of a new riddle, a puzzle that seemed nearly impossible to solve. The Zodiac had made it clear, he was in control, and they were just his puppets. "The next victim will be someone you know," the letter finished. Who would the Zodiac target next? The question burned in John's mind. They had to figure it out before another person died, but how could they? Every time they thought they had a lead, it turned out to be another dead end. The Zodiac's cryptic warning made it personal. Someone they knew was in danger. But who was it? Detective John paced back and forth in his office, the letter still in his hands. He couldn't stop thinking about the words, "The next victim will be someone you know." He grabbed the case files and scanned through them. His thoughts were racing. He was missing something critical. Then, as if struck by lightning, it hit him. The letter mentioned the Zodiac's past victims, but the name that was absent stood out to him like a neon sign. A name he had seen earlier in the investigation, one he'd ignored until now. His pulse quickened as he scribbled the name on a notepad. Could it be? John muttered to himself. They quickly gathered the team. "It's her. We've overlooked this before." The detective was sure of it now. They had finally figured it out. The next victim wasn't just some random stranger. It was someone close, someone who knew the Zodiac personally. Someone connected to the victims in a way they hadn't considered before. Could they stop the Zodiac before it was too late, or had they already missed their chance? John and his team rushed to the location they believed would lead them to the next victim. Their hearts pounded in their chests, each step feeling heavier than the last. But as they arrived, they found nothing. No trace of the woman, no sign of the Zodiac. "Where is she?" John demanded, his voice shaking with frustration. "He's playing us. This was all a setup." But just as they began to question everything, the sound of sirens filled the air. They turned to see a squad car speed down the street, pulling into an alleyway just ahead. The officer in the car was frantic. "I found her. She's alive, but," the officer gasped for breath, "he's gone." The Zodiac was waiting for her. He was there. John's heart sank. They had just missed him again. But the woman? She had survived. But for how long? Was this a lucky break? Or was the Zodiac playing a deeper game, one they hadn't even begun to understand? Hadn't he taken them yet? The team had been chasing shadows for weeks. Every lead seemed like a false trail. Every clue, a step backward instead of forward. Detective John sat in his dimly lit office, replaying every detail in his mind, trying to find a connection, anything that could break the case wide open. That's when the phone rang. It wasn't the usual anonymous caller. This time, the voice on the other end was familiar. It was the voice of a victim, a woman who had survived the Zodiac's attack months ago. "I think I know who he is," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "He's been watching me." John's heart skipped a beat. The woman had barely survived, and the trauma was evident in her voice. She had been one of the lucky few who had managed to escape, but now, she was sounding desperate. She continued. "He's a man I met years ago, long before the killings started. He knew everything about me, my life, my routine. It was like he was always there, in the background. I didn't realize it then, but now I know, he was stalking me the entire time." John quickly scribbled down her words. Could this be the break they needed? It felt too simple, too easy, but in the world of crime investigations, sometimes the answers came when you least expected them. "You need to stay calm," John said, his voice low. "We're going to figure this out. You're not alone in this." But in the back of his mind, he knew that the closer they got, the more dangerous it became. They were playing a deadly game, and the Zodiac was always one step ahead. Could the survivor's revelation be the key to unmasking the Zodiac? Or is this just another manipulation from the killer to keep them in the dark? John was no stranger to the toll this investigation had taken on him. Sleepless nights, endless hours of staring at the same evidence, trying to decipher clues that seemed to make no sense. But tonight, something was different. Something had changed. The call came in at exactly 11:45 p.m. John's hands shook as he picked up the receiver. The voice on the other end was unmistakable. "Do you really think you're going to catch me?" The Zodiac's voice taunted. "I've been watching you. You think you know me, but you don't. I'm always one step ahead. Always." John's stomach churned. The man was toying with them, and it felt like a game of cat and mouse. "This isn't a game," John said through gritted teeth. "We're going to find you." The Zodiac laughed. It was a deep, dark laugh that sent a chill down John's spine. "You don't understand," the Zodiac said, the amusement in his voice turning into a low growl. "I'll always be right here watching. And when you least expect it, I'll strike." With that, the call ended, leaving John with a sinking feeling in his chest. He had never felt more certain of one thing: the Zodiac was watching them. And the killer was not going to make it easy for them to solve this case. Was this another manipulation from the Zodiac? Or was he getting closer to his next victim? And why did it feel like the killer was always one step ahead? Days passed with no new leads, just cryptic messages and dead ends. John could feel the weight of the case pressing on him. Each time they thought they had a breakthrough, it slipped through their fingers like sand. At 2 a.m., they received a tip. It was a strange one, coming from a local bar. A man, drunk and ranting about the Zodiac, had been overheard talking about his next victim. He didn't mention a name, but he spoke of the Zodiac's next move with an eerie certainty. The team rushed to the bar, adrenaline pumping through their veins. As they entered, the bartender pointed to a man slumped in a booth. The man was incoherent, his words slurring as he mumbled about blood and the game. "Tell us what you know," John demanded, his voice firm. The man looked up, his eyes wide with fear. "He's gonna kill again," he whispered, his voice shaking. "He told me, he said it was coming soon. It's all part of the game." Before John could get another word out, the man collapsed into unconsciousness. The team immediately took him to the station for questioning, but he couldn't remember anything else. Was he just another pawn in the Zodiac's twisted game? Or had they missed something crucial? The Zodiac had been watching them again, and it felt like they were running out of time. Would they be able to stop the next murder before it was too late? The investigation had reached a boiling point. Every lead had been exhausted, every suspect interrogated. The Zodiac had vanished into thin air, leaving nothing but chaos in his wake. Then the breakthrough came in the form of a clue, a tiny, insignificant detail that had slipped under the radar for weeks. It was a small drawing on the back of the Zodiac's latest letter, barely noticeable at first. But when they zoomed in, they realized something horrifying. It was a map. A map that led straight to a secluded cabin, deep in the woods. John's heart raced as he stared at the map. This was it. This was the Zodiac's lair. They had finally found him. The team gathered quickly, preparing for what would be the most dangerous mission of their careers. As they approached the cabin, every sense was on high alert. The air was thick with tension. The killer could be inside, watching them. Every step they took felt like they were walking toward their doom. Was this finally the end of the Zodiac's reign of terror? Or had they walked right into his trap? The cabin was silent as the team cautiously entered, weapons drawn, hearts pounding in their chests. Every floorboard creaked underfoot, and every shadow seemed to hide a deadly secret. They searched the cabin room by room, but there was no sign of the Zodiac. It was like he had disappeared. Just as they were about to give up, a door at the back of the cabin creaked open, revealing a dark staircase leading underground. With no time to waste, John signaled to the team to follow. As they descended into the darkness, the air grew colder. The walls seemed to close in on them, suffocating the already tense atmosphere. And then they heard it, the unmistakable sound of breathing. Suddenly, the Zodiac appeared from the shadows, a dark figure in the corner. He was smiling like a man who had been waiting for this moment for years. "It's over," John said, voice trembling but determined. "You're done." The Zodiac's eyes gleamed with madness as he stepped forward, revealing a knife gleaming in the dim light. "This is the end of the game," the Zodiac hissed, his smile widening. Was this really the final confrontation? Or was the Zodiac about to pull one last deadly trick? The fight was intense, desperate. But in the end, the Zodiac was captured. His reign of terror had come to a bloody end. Or so they thought. But as the Zodiac was hauled away in handcuffs, he turned and whispered something chilling: "The game's not over. It's just begun." And with that, he was taken away, leaving the question lingering in the air: did they really capture him? Or had they only scratched the surface of a much darker truth? The Zodiac's legacy continued to haunt the city long after his capture. No one knew where he came from, how he vanished, or if the true mastermind behind the killings had ever been caught. The Zodiac killer was never fully revealed. And perhaps, just maybe, the real killer was still out there, waiting to strike again.